condensate pump for a heating and air conditioning when the A coil begins to sweat. And if one wonders when the A coil will sweat, the A coil in the summertime or whenever you use your air conditioner, I'm not certain if this is the terminology, I'm not certain if this is correct or incorrect, but I may have heard it whenever the temperature gets below the dew point. But notwithstanding the air and comes across the A coil, it turns into, say, sweat on the A coil, or not necessarily sweat. Sweat may be the wrong word. It turns into moisture, or moisture drops. Then it begins to go off, and then one may have a condensate line, which is a 3/4 PVC line, and the 3/4 PVC line can drain. Well, a condensate pump will allow this line to go. You can put it in this hole, this hole, this hole. As one can see, I've got this thing in certain parts so we can see how the anatomy of this thing works. So it works off of 110, or if it's hardwired in, you won't have this plug, but it's good to have the ground wire here. But basically, the water comes in here, the water exits here. So when the electricity is energized here, this motor here begins to spin. And I don't know if this is to keep the motor cool, I'm not sure. But as one can see, there's kind of like a little turbine thing down here in the bottom. It may be difficult to see. So as I spin this thing here, it spins. So if it grabs the water and then the water comes through this here, then the water will exit here. I'm assuming it will push it up and push it up through here. There will be maybe a 3/8 inner diameter hose connected here. This can go up. You can zip tie it to whatever. Go outside, just be sure you don't crimp the pipe. So when you put this on, but again, once the motor's energized through the electricity, the motor begins to spin. And as one can see, the motor spins here. And down here, the motor, when we spin it here, the motor is spinning here. So I'm thinking the water comes in here, the water goes up through this tube, and then it exits here. So I don't know what this is for. I'm not sure if this little thing here kind of helps it keep cool. Maybe this may get a little warm. I'm not certain what that's for. But down here, and if somebody knows, they can add this to the comments. But down here is a little kind of turbine or gear or whatever. And as one sees, when I rotate that, I'm rotating it with my hand. So if it had water in it, it would take the water would drain in here, then it would push the water up. So again, I stopped, start, stop, start. And this is how it goes, and it's fed through electricity. And they've got this motor here on it, and this is the pan. This is where the water would come into. As one can see, there's a high water mark, and then on the bottom here, there's a little thing like a sump pump that pushes it up. So once it pushes it up, and then that would tell the motor to turn on. And once the motor started to turn on, and then if it begins to spin, as one might be able to see through there, it's tough. So this is manually doing it by hand, but the electricity would hear. So I'm assuming they have you got a wire here, you got a wire here, and this wire here may have come loose. I'm not certain on this. But then, but basically the motor just simply turns, and then the water shoots the water up through here. When the water comes up through here, it comes out. So the water would come in either this hole, or this hole. The water would exit through this hole as the motor turns. So if the motor is defective, it's not going to. Here's a side angle, but if the motor is defective, it's not going to it's not going to do that. Now I'm manually turning it. I don't know if you can see. I stopped, start, stop, start. So if there was water in here, the water would shoot up through here, and this is how a condensate pump works for heating and air conditioning, to remove the moisture so it doesn't stain your drywall or whatever you don't want the water to get into. This would hopefully and this could push it uphill as well. So if you don't have gravity feed, if it's in the basement, in the crawl space, it may be okay if it can gravity feed, but if you can't gravity feed, then you're going to need some help, and this is the pump, or a pump similar to this, to get the water to exit the area. Thank you for watching. Condensate pump for heating and air conditioning, to remove the moisture as a result of the moisture from the A coil. Thank you.